Hmm, the last brownie. I remember it was just the other day. You were a whole pan of brownies, all pretty and beautiful and steaming fresh out of the oven. I didn't get to eat too many of you, but I'm looking forward to eating you. Just me and you. This is gonna be so nice. I've got to make more brownies. I think I'll do it on.
Nigel, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Hi, Chef Robert here. We're gonna make something real nice and simple, and it's some chewy brownies. And the recipe is delicious, simple, and it's a real quick prep. So the very first thing that we're going to get started, I'm just going to get a pan ready. Anytime you're gonna be making brownies, whatever pan you're going to use, you want to get it prepped. And when they say to grease a pan, sometimes, yeah, just hitting it with a little pan might be good. I really like to make sure that the pan is completely covered. Get all those corners, get up those sides. Sometimes if you're going to be doing a cake, you might even throw some flour in here afterwards. So this is our prepped pan all ready for our brownies. Now, the brownies that we're going to do tonight are a chewy brownie, not a cake brownie. If you're looking for a cake brownie, you came to the wrong place. So there's not going to be any leavening. There's not going to be any baking powder, baking soda, anything like that. We've got the eggs and the oil and the flour. Those are going to be our only rising agents. And it starts out real simple. We've got 1 3/4 cups of just white granulated sugar. I've got some just melted and still hot butter. So I've got 3/4 of a cup of butter. That's a stick and a half for all of you out there who are writing this down. And I've got 1.5 tablespoons of oil. The oil that I'm using for this is a vegetable oil. It's not going to give any taste or add any flavor. It's just going to serve to keep this cake nice or keep this brownie mix nice and moist, because that's what we really want. As a matter of fact, with brownie mix, when the timer goes off, you just have to trust that you did this for the right amount of time, because any good chewy brownie, when you take it out of the oven, it's still going to leave that toothpick. It's still going to leave that toothpick with some stuff on it. So the old tester where you shove the toothpick in, it's going to come out. It's going to come out with some mess on it. I'm going to stir up the butter and the sugar, but unlike when we use cold butter and sugar, it's not going to really cream in the same way, because the melted butter and the oil won't dissolve the sugar. The next things that we're going to add in are some vanilla. That's a good healthy tablespoon of some good vanilla. A scant 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now, what does a scant 1/2 teaspoon mean? A little less than 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I like to use salted butter, and because of that, there's already some salt in the recipe. If you're using unsalted butter, go ahead and increase that teaspoon of salt to that 1/2 teaspoon of salt to a teaspoon. We're gonna crack 3 eggs in there. and pop those yolks and get them really well mixed in. The yolks and the whites will get that sugar dissolving now. And what we want is we want this as nice and smooth as possible. In fact, I'm even going to look for some of the for the color to get a little bit lighter as we go along. So, don't want to shake up the camera too much. When you're doing this, you should probably do this for about 2 good minutes. I'm not going to waste 2 minutes of your precious time that you could be finishing this video and getting started on your own brownies. But you can see it's already lightening up a little bit. Now the next thing we're going to need, because we're going to move right along here, you're going to need a screen or one of those flour sifters. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our flour and our baking powder, and we're going to sift these into this other bowl here. And when I show you why we're going to do this, it will become completely evident to you. Now, there is still all these little rocks of cocoa left over. Not little rocks, but they need to get powderized. So you really want to push those through the screen so that when we go to mix these in, we don't have to spend too much time mixing it in. The more time we spend upsetting this dough, the more the flour has a chance to start developing gluten, and we don't want the flour to develop gluten. So we're gonna mix this in pretty quickly. We're gonna get rid of this whisk here because we're not gonna need it anymore. When I showed the picture of these finished brownies the other day online, I got a great reaction from a lot of you. And the reason I did, I think, is that I wanted to make it a little special by adding in a little swirl of raspberry sauce. And a couple people asked me questions about the raspberry sauce. How do you get it? How do you make it out of? It's kind of tough nowadays to really you spend all your time just hunting around. But if you have raspberry jam, you could take some raspberry jam and you could heat it up on your stove, and you could certainly strain that out because you don't want the seeds in there. Strain that out and then put it into a squeeze bottle, and you can squeeze right along and do exactly what we're doing. You can also, if you don't have raspberry jam, if you only have strawberry jam, do the same thing. Heat it up, strain it, let it cool, put it in a squeeze bottle, and you can accomplish the same thing. Tonight, in addition to the raspberry jam, I just love chocolate, so I thought I would swirl in some chocolate too. So I've got everything here is really well mixed in. I don't want to miss a thing, a single drop of that delicious mix. So I'm going to just get every little bit off the side with my soft spatula, and I'm all mixed in. So we'll get our prepared 9x13 pan. I'm going to put this right in the pan. to get every drop. And we're going to get it all the way into the corners. Now, if you're not using the raspberry, if you're not going to squeeze out and swirl the raspberries, or the raspberry and the chocolate like I'm about to do, you don't really have to worry so much about getting this all evened out on the bottom, because it will, as it heats up in the oven, it will level itself off. But to do this technique, we definitely want everything leveled off beforehand so that our artwork stays intact. Get that in there. All right, now let's get the raspberry sauce taken care of. So we have our raspberry sauce, we have our chocolate sauce. Like I said, we're going to use two different kinds of sauce on this. I'm gonna squeeze this out, and I'm gonna space it about 2 inches apart for my raspberry. Maybe a little less than that. I guess that's about 1.5 inches. Trying to go as close to straight across as I can here. And I don't want to be right up at the edge. I want to be about 1/2 inch in from the edge. So we've got our lines of the raspberry. Then I'm going to put in my chocolate, like I said. And I'm going to run that right down the center of those raspberry lines. It already looks nice, doesn't it? It already looks delicious, I can tell you that much. I have my oven preset, or preheating, to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. For my friends in Canada, you'll have to do the conversion. All I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull this toothpick through, back and forth. You see how beautiful that mixes in? Look at that. Makes it look like I almost know what I'm doing. One more time. There we go. All right. See how beautiful that is? All right. Let's get that put in the oven and get everything started. So the brownies went about 30 minutes. Usually 20-25 is perfect. The center wasn't quite set the way I wanted it. Oh man. Oh, I wish you could smell what I'm smelling. Look at that. That's beautiful. I'm going to let this sit about 20 minutes and then make a couple nice slices and get Lisa a corner piece. That's it for the brownies, my chewy brownies with the raspberry and chocolate swirl. Thanks again for joining me, Chef Robert Alexander. Look forward to seeing you again. Enjoy making your brownies. I'll see you soon. Stay inside, stay healthy. Love you. Bye-bye.